and tell you what to do. Okay.
Do you see him more than like anybody else in your life? Because you could say, because I see the most, and I just like,
I don't want to see him, but I just think you were saying like don't use really close friends or family if you think that it's gonna have an effect on like you judging them or whatever. And I
Yeah.
would judge him, so
So here's Lisa, why don't you try it with him? Just give it a stab, and if it doesn't work, go on to plan B and
Okay.
find a family member or, no, I think, the principles behind it is that we want you to have a good experience coaching, so don't go coaching someone you have like an intense relationship with and,
right. Right.
so that's kind of the thought behind it.
Okay.
Okay, good question. Who doesn't have a client yet? You all have one?
Well, I might not.
I have a maybe.
You have a maybe, okay.
Maybe too. I have several people in mind, but some of them, I felt like if they were teenagers, I would need to talk to their parents about it before
Yep, I would recommend that.
this one's an adult, but she's.
Has anyone had a first session? So we have our plans, we just haven't met with anyone. Okay. Okay, sounds good. Okay, today we're gonna talk about appreciative inquiry. And by the way, I think you guys, I really appreciate it. I feel like you guys are being thoughtful with your reading assignments and trying to interject yourself more into the assignment and think about it and put things in your own words. And I appreciate that. It's a lot more fun for me to read too. So appreciative inquiry is founded in positive psychology. So positive psychology is kind of a newish thing in the counseling psychology world. Does anyone know much about positive psychology? Other than that it's a positive approach to psychology? Catherine?
It's, is it another name for transpersonal psychology? Do they use it hand in hand sometimes?
I've never heard that. No.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Because transpersonal psychology is what I want to do next, actually.
Okay.
Get my master's in it.
There's some connections between the
Yeah,
two,
is
yeah,
there?
very much so.
That's what I thought.
So we're not going to spend a lot of time on the background of positive psychology and go into all the ins and outs of it, but just so you have a grounding of where this theory of appreciative inquiry and this tool comes from, I just want to briefly discuss that. Positive psychology has come out from the psychology world into where they're not so much focused on disease management of the mind and the person, and they're not trying to fix people as much, and that's why it fits really well with coaching and wellness coaching. So in positive psychology, and the founder of it is Martin Seligman, and I actually watched, you guys ever seen TED Talks? So there was a 23-minute clip on YouTube with him talking about it today. We don't have time to watch it, but it was really interesting. It was only 23 minutes, and I thought it was interesting just on the background of positive psychology, but also I thought it was very helpful just for the individual. Talked a lot about happiness and our approach to happiness and 3 levels of happiness and which one has the most life satisfaction for people, and anyway, very interesting. So he says positive psychology, and I think this will resonate with you. Positive psychology should be just as concerned about strengths as it is weaknesses. And so that's why in coaching we have this foundation of positive psychology and appreciative inquiry that's very much focused on the strengths of people and not just the weaknesses. The second one, positive psychology should be as interested in building the best things in life as it is repairing the worst. So once again, we're not taking that fix-it, problem-solving, analyzing approach. We're focused on helping people have fulfilling lives, not just getting them through. And this third one is very interesting. It's positive psychology should be as concerned with making the lives of normal people fulfilling and with nurturing high talent as with healing pathology. So what is optimal living for people? How can we get people thriving and not just making it through? And not just dealing with people who are severely mentally ill. Okay? So just a little basis on that. I have a quick clip I want to show you to introduce appreciative inquiry. It's actually from a professor in the UK, a business professor. And I wanted to show this just so you can see the broader application of this theory and tool, not just in wellness and not just working with people one-on-one, but how it can be applied to organizations or maybe people in the class who like what we're learning about, but know that they aren't necessarily going to coach people one-on-one. Okay? Why isn't the volume working?
Try the mute on the volume thing. I think it might have turned.
On here?
No.
Okay.
On Windows. So, escape that, yeah. Set it up in the middle. Try and move it. Try and move it.
Hello, I'm John Hayes. I'm Professor of Management at Leeds University Business School in the UK. I work with Archos Business School and have been doing so for several years now. And this morning, what I'm going to talk to you about is appreciative inquiry. It's a rather different approach to looking at organisations and trying to change what's happening in organisations. Instead of trying to focus attention on what's wrong and then trying to fix it, this approach looks at what's right and then tries to accentuate it. So it's accentuating the positive rather than eliminating the negative. The world out there is a social construction. We view the world in different ways. Think of the Middle East crisis, for example. People in Israel or Palestine or elsewhere, they have clear views about what's going on, but they have different views. Similarly, in our organisations, different people have different views about what's happening in those organisations. So we have different constructions of reality. And these constructions of reality are open to change. And appreciative inquiry is actually trying to change the way we view the world. So instead of viewing the world from a deficiency perspective and focusing on what's wrong, we try and view the world more positively and we try and identify opportunities that can be embraced. Just as plants grow towards the light, so organisations grow and develop towards whatever it is which is the life-giving force in the organisation. So rather than focus on problems, we focus on opportunities, we focus on what's going well. And what appreciative inquiry involves, it involves discovering the best of what is, and then going one step further and trying to understand why is the best the best? What is it that, what are the circumstances that are creating these conditions? And then exploring possibilities for amplifying the best. So we try and work out what it is that's working, and then we say, what would the organisation be like if this exceptional set of circumstances, if we could actually make that the norm and not the exception? And that's the way that we intervene. If in your organisation you were trying to understand why it is that you've got high labour turnover and people are leaving, rather than seeing it as a problem and focus on why people leave through exit interviews or however else you might investigate that, switch attention to why it is that some people are staying. What is it about their experience at work that turns them on, that creates and develops their commitment to the organisation? And then can we amplify that? Can we spread that across the organisation? When we look at problems, people get defensive. It's not my fault, it's their fault. People are reluctant to share information. People find it difficult to learn in those circumstances. Alternatively, when we focus attention on what's working well, people get excited. They're prepared to talk about that. They get engaged. This enthusiasm, this excitement, it spreads to others. And we can get a lot of energy behind trying to produce change in organizations. Give it a try sometime.
Okay, so tell me, what do you like about appreciative inquiry? What do you like about what that professor just said?
I like how I said discover the best of what is. You can find the positive in any situation. It'll help you continue to stay positive. That's what he means by that, I think.
Yeah. Definitely.
Just noticing that he doesn't ignore the negative. It's not pushing the negative aside. It's saying, okay, we have this problem, but taking a positive stance on viewing the negative, I guess, or more like, what can we learn from this negative outcome to turn it to a positive light? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I really like how you said that, because it's not, sometimes we talk about positive psychology and all this stuff, we're like, it's so Pollyanna, and it's really not. It's your paradigm with how you're viewing situations that you want to be better, or it's how you're viewing the problem or something like that. So it's saying, yes, we have a situation that we want to be better, or we have a problem, and we're choosing to look at it through this paradigm, through this approach.
Literally, it's learning from your mistakes.
Yeah, in a positive, not in a, I'm a failure, I'm awful kind of a thing, but learning from it and saying, this is normal, it's natural to learn. Clarissa?
It reminds me a lot of You Are What You Think About, and this may seem off topic, but it reminded me a lot of dating. Because people, they don't advertise their problems, and people that do advertise their problems in dating don't really get in relationships. And so they focus more on the positive and strengths and put on the space of all is well. And then you like them because they are thinking differently. Does that make sense?
And we're all shocked when we see problems. Yeah, no, that's a good analogy, a good example. Lindsay?
Chandra.
What?
Chandra.
Chandra, I'm trying, Chandra.
No,
Thank
you're
you.
okay. I think they also realize that there's more to work with when they focus on the strengths rather than the weaknesses, just like everyone was saying.
Yeah. Okay, Catherine?
Well, from all that I've read and all that I've watched, because I know several people that just are that way all the time, there's energy in positivity. And it's the opposite of what happens when you start focusing on a problem, because people immediately throw up defenses and they start either trying to offload the blame or throw it back at the person asking about the problem. And I think there's, in the chapter it talked about there's positive movement, there's, this offset the balance, and so I think it's a powerful thing, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, and it is very powerful, and we won't go into all of the brain chemistry and the brain science behind this, but when you are approached in a positive way, your mind, the chemicals that are going through your mind are far different from when someone is personally attacking you or trying to give you constructive criticism in a positive way, but it's not feeling, this isn't just, it's so much more fun, it's so much better to look at that, the cup is half empty. There's physiological things that are going in our bodies that make it so when we are approached in a positive way, we are more creative, we are more willing to take responsibility, more we're willing to find solutions, more we're willing to try and have hope. So this is, like you said, this is very powerful stuff, and it's not just because everything in our mind has a physiological thing and a response within our body as well. So what I want to do, there's 5 principles, and I know you guys have read them, and I don't want to sit up here and lecture about these 5 principles. But what I want us to do is I want to spend some time briefly on each of them, because I want you to internalize it and to kind of have a better grasp for it and to have some context for it. So the way we're going to do that is for every principle, you're going to have to think about a time in your life where this happened. So you can really understand this and know where it's coming from and have some personal experience with it. Okay, so the first one is called the positive principle. And it basically states positive actions and outcomes stem from positive energy and emotion. So I want you to think about a time or several times in your life where there was positive energy, positive emotions, and therefore the outcome was also positive. I know this is kind of vague, but think about it, and then we'll discuss it in class, so we can kind of have some context for this principle. I want to hear from someone who hasn't talked today. Do they have an example that goes along with this principle?
I play golf for a Weaver, and I've noticed that when I have positive thoughts and positive feelings, and the other girls I play with are being positive, that I play my best. And I've also seen that go the opposite way very quickly. So
this principle is very clear for you.
Yeah.
And I think athletics are actually a really good, where we can apply this very well. Okay, thank you for sharing that. Catherine?
Several years ago, I was a nurse at a nursing home, and the corporation was giving us more paperwork, and we weren't really having much interaction with the patients, and I was really hating my job for the very first time, and I've never hated my job. I just was really getting worn out with all of the increased responsibility and everything. And so I decided, okay, why was I a nurse? Why did I become a nurse? It's for the heart-to-heart connection. So what can I do? Because also I was giving out 15 pills to one person just in one med pass, and I wasn't aligning with me anymore and my beliefs. So I decided to pass out my pills singing and dancing. And the reactions were wonderful, and I shifted in such a way that I was never, ever overwhelmed with the paperwork again. And the paperwork kept coming, but I shifted in such a way that it was not the same
really
experience.
Cool. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I love how you said the paperwork kept coming. Nothing happened with that, but somehow you were able to handle that.
Yes.
And I'm sure like if you just kept complaining in your mind or to your coworkers or coming home about all this paperwork, you wouldn't have been able to deal with it.
Well, the elderly faces, when I was singing and dancing to them, I wish I had a camera on my shoulder. It was just so precious, the reactions that I got from them. So it just, filled me up, and they were filled up too.
And see what's nice about this is it gives you the energy to go do that paperwork.
Yes, right.
It gave you the energy to work through those things, to do the tasks that are difficult.
I never looked at it the same. It was no longer overwhelming, so it was transformational.
Okay, thank you very much. So now I want you all to think about a thing in your life that you have constant negative thoughts about. Done? We don't have to discuss them, by the way. We're not going to share right now. We're not having group therapy. But I want you to have a situation that you can experiment with this principle and see if you can change your thoughts about it, how it may change the energy you have for other things in life, the energy you have for that. Maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's a course, maybe it's a job, maybe it's getting up in the morning to go work out or something like that. But notice your thoughts and how it's affecting your energy level, and then hence the outcome that you're getting. Okay, let's move on to the second one. Okay, so the Constructionist principle. Positive energy and emotion stem from positive conversations and interactions. Okay, so think of an example of this for yourself. Okay, does someone on the back row have an example?
So as a hobby, I bodybuild, and when I'm getting ready for a show, I only surround myself with positive people because it's such a mental game. It's so stressful and it's hard enough as it is without having any negativity around. So I always just surround myself with positive people that are giving me positive feedback and giving me motivation and helping me move forward so I can reach the goals I need to reach.
What's the outcome you get?
Winning, I guess.
Cool, very good. And you're very deliberate about that.
Yeah.
Because you have seen and felt the difference. Okay, good. I have a friend whose sister has breast cancer. And I was talking to her a couple weeks ago and she was having a hard time. And we have a group of friends, and so we decided to get together. We had breakfast on Saturday, and we talked a little bit about what she's going through and her sister, and she lives with her and stuff. But a lot of conversation was just on other things and very positive, and we laughed, and she just texted us all and just said how good that felt to her. Just to laugh and to be surrounded. And we didn't dismiss the problem. We didn't like say, you know, we acknowledged it, we listened, but overall that experience was very positive for her, and I think the rest of the day she felt positive and good about things. So those positive conversations, they don't even have to be about the thing that the person is worrying about. Just positivity and lightheartedness and laughter can help. Okay, so now what I want to do this, because one of the part of this principle is that we can change our reality, even our reality of past experiences, right? And so, just like the professor said, we all construct our reality. So reframing, which you learned about this week, is a really, really great skill to have when we're coaching or we're working on other things. So because people can look at something and have created a whole negative paradigm for themselves, but there actually was positive in there. And so we want to help them see that positive, because we do have clients that have had negative experience after negative experience with something, and we have to help them not rewrite it and not change it, but shift that paradigm and help them create a more positive reality. So what I want you to do is, with someone, you're just going to pair and share, you're going to partner up with someone, and I want you each get to do this, so one person will just tell them something bad in your life. It can happen today, yesterday, you got mad about something, maybe it was a customer service thing. I could go off on that, my tolerance is being very low, I need to switch. Maybe you had some road rage, maybe you had a bad conversation with someone, a bad assignment, something. I want you to share it, and then the other person, I want you to mindfully listen, to empathize, and then I want you to do a reflection that reframes that in a positive light, where you ask them a question that brings out the positive. It's okay if you don't know what you're doing, it's fine, we're just gonna try it, okay? So someone be A, someone be B, A gets to be the negative, B gets to do the reframer, and then we'll switch, okay? I just want you to start practicing this skill and get a handle for it, okay?
Turn around.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to say for a second, but I will figure it out.
Well, if you guys came back,
Is that?
I'll be negative. So I go to work every morning and I love work. I feel like I'm every morning.
So it wasn't bad. And it was the car. It was really good.
I'm getting
So yeah.
when I aim my attention at someone else, I'm surrounded.
Well, it could have been relaxed.
it's really hard for you in the morning class, and
And it was the lady.
60 hours a week. It's hard to go.
Did she have insurance?
At a church. So, I've been to church school, and I knew they only had like 400 students in my class. I'm not being very smart.
Oh, really?
The weather.
Yeah.
Okay, let's pause. Are you guys done?
Oh, the book? Oh, no, I have no idea. Honestly, yeah.
Okay, so what was that like?
Sometimes it's hard to look at.
How are our threesome? How'd that feel?
Fine.
Yeah, I mean, it does bring a different, it still bugs me. Like, even when I think about positive parts of it, it still nags me. But at the same time, it's less than it was before, if that makes sense.
Balancing.
Yeah.
And I think that's perfectly fine. I mean, like, we don't have to completely view it in positive. Like, if we can get, you know, I mean, it's not like, depending on the situation, maybe it's been ongoing, maybe it's really hard. We can get a little bit more positive just through one conversation and you can accomplish something. Did you still felt like you were understood and validated?
Definitely.
Okay,
Yeah.
because we have to do that. We can't go, oh, an opportunity to be positive, let's be positive. I'm gonna, no. We have to still be mindful, we have to still listen and validate and empathize. And you can do that quickly, it doesn't take a long time. But if you don't do it, then it's just gonna feel like, oh, here they go, I'm gonna be positive again or something like that, okay? Okay, so now I want you to switch and do that one more time, okay? Change roles. Hey, you know what? Play, right? Play over here.
Yeah. Oh, I would sit over here in this group.
Okay, well, we'll just have you guys come and talk next time.
Okay.
So switch roles.
You're so bad.
Just different ways to approach it, yeah. But questions can actually be considered as saying, going out the positive. Right, it's much better. There you go.
It wasn't that bad.
Just look at this.
Yeah. So do you take it
Just take a breath.
Yeah. So, I mean, there was a place where they were going to help me pull 15 years of field.
Come out with some press release.
Everything went wrong.
There's always relaxing. My head hurt, and she's like, headstand. How about we don't? And so I just sat there.
You want to start at home.
Sorry. What are you going to do as teacher? I see, I'd rather be a secretary. Yeah.
Okay, looks like we have some good conversations going on, but I'm gonna cut in.
There's
Chandra and Brooke, how was that for you guys this time? Good? So what did you learn?
Just good, like bouncing ideas off of each other.
It was kind of hard coming up with questions to ask, but I think it helps because she was talking about like her pregnancy, and it helps that I had a pregnancy so I can relate to her. Because if I hadn't, then it would be harder for me to come up with the questions. So.
So it helps to have a little knowledge about what the person is going through, so you can ask some questions. Okay. Well, hopefully this helps you, because this reframing is really, really important in our coaching. And what's great about this, and we'll get this to the last one, we have a few more to go to, but we can all rewrite our own stories. All we have to do is like put a positive spin on it. Like we can rewrite our whole life. And I think that's really cool to think about, and to think what would a positive perspective on our past do for the present and the future. Not negating the hardness or the discouragement or whatever we felt, but if we could really rewrite that in our mind and take out the positive, what would that do for us? And how can we do that for other people? Okay, Catherine?
I was just going to say that what we focus on expands, so focus on the good stuff.
Okay, it's a large one. Okay, so the next one is the simultaneity principle. Positive conversations and interactions stem from positive questions and reflections. So, Lisa, how was your day yesterday?
Yesterday? Can I be honest?
Not you, Lisa.
I was a little drunk yesterday.
Okay.
I remember it all, it was good, I guess, it was fun.
Thanks for letting me put you on the spot, Lisa. So, now Lisa.
Yeah.
And this might be the same answer, I'm not sure. What was the best thing about your day yesterday?
I had friends come into town from out of state, and they have a little girl that's my daughter's age, and they were born at the same time, and these are friends that, we made friends with them, and then we all got married at the same time, had babies at the same time, so it was, and then now they're in Idaho, and we're in Utah, so it's incredible. And I think the best part was spending time with them, because I haven't had a lot of time for friends, nor have I made time for friends, so it was fun. Yes.
Okay, class, what do we observe?
She was smiling when she was talking about those friends.
She seems a little more relaxed, a little more.
No, but what was the whole, like, what difference did we see? In the difference in the question? So for one thing, it sounds like Lisa made me feeling a little bad. She was drunk yesterday. Or, I don't know how you're perceiving that. There was still a smile on your face when you said it, right? But the minute I asked, what was your day like yesterday, she went to this experience that, I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
But then when I asked her what was the best thing about your day yesterday, we got a completely different answer, feeling. I mean, there was meaning behind that.
And energy.
No, I mean, that was huge, wasn't that? You know, I
It
didn't.
was the same question, wasn't it?
Well, no, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Like in a different way?
Yeah, I was asking you about the exact same subject matter, but I helped you focus on what was positive. It sounds like yesterday was a great day.
It was.
Yeah. But isn't that interesting, when I asked you how your day was yesterday, you didn't even go to that. I mean, you immediately went, and you had a really great day. You did something you haven't done in a long time. You met with people that are really important to you in your life. But when I just asked you how your day was, wow, that didn't even come up.
We're good.
The questions are good. It's all about the questions, okay? So do you see the difference?
Yes.
And that happens all the time, you guys. That wasn't just luck right there. I mean, that happens all the time. What you ask someone is what they're going to focus on. And I also think it goes to show that this positive stuff, even though we all grew up with the glass is half empty, focus on the positive, it does not come easy. It doesn't. Because if we did, if in our culture and our society it came easily, then Lisa would have automatically said what was positive. And I bet I could ask you all the same thing, and I bet most of you, maybe some of you wouldn't have, but most of you probably would have done a similar thing. Sometimes we feel like we have to be honest with people too, you know, we gotta like say that. So just note to yourself, like really, these questions help people frame their own lives. They've got the information there. I didn't tell Lisa what to say. I didn't be like, are you sure there's nothing positive? No, it's there, it's all there. She just needed to be asked the right question.
Can you say something like, what was the worst thing that happened to you yesterday, and then focus on that to try and turn somebody around? I saw a movie one time with Bruce Willis in it, and I know we love Bruce Willis. It was a movie about him and his wife and their marital problems, and they sat around the table every day and they said, what, something about your high-low. This is the high of your day and then the low of your day, and then they kind of just sat around and talked about it. And it was just like a way to open up like a family conversation, but.
No, I definitely think in that instance, from what you just told me, that the high and the low was to understand when people have, to understand their day, to be able to empathize. Oh, that was hard. You must be struggling with that. That doesn't seem like a problem fixing or focusing on. Mm-hmm. We're focusing on how was your day, okay. And we all know there's high and lows to the day. But I wouldn't say something. What was the worst thing about your day? I don't know. It may come up if someone just really wants to. I may say you seem to really
want to talk about their negativities. We do.
Yes, but what can we talk about our negative experiences in a way, or how should we talk about our experiences in a way that gives us energy and helps us find solutions and helps us find a way out? I mean, I don't think coaching is all about just letting someone vent and they just want to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why if someone just wants to vent and they don't want to look at anything in the positive way and they don't want to take any responsibility, then we may have some other issues going on. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And that's why when, that's why that listening is so important. But we can all still understand someone and listen in a positive way without even reframing it for them. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's move on to the next one. The anticipatory principle. Positive questions and reflections stem from positive anticipation of the future. So this principle states that a particular vision of the future can guide current behavior in the direction of that future. For clients, it can sometimes be frightening to clearly define a desired future. Once done, the anticipation of that future will naturally lead to certain actions in the present. Okay, so think of an example in your life where you've done this, where you positively anticipated the future, and then it made getting there, it made the steps all kind of come together, and so you were able to get where you wanted to go. You all have them. Okay, rather than spend a ton of time on this one, what do you guys think this one means?
See the big picture.
Okay, see the big picture? No? Okay.
I kind of think like the little things that you think about each day and the little things you do each day can kind of evolve into how you feel for that month or that week or whatever. So like, take it a day at a time, but be positive with each step you're taking, because it's hard to explain.
No,
because the little steps kind of make what is happening. I don't know how to explain it. That's okay.
Put a big dream out in front of you that you go towards, and every decision that you make, every choice that you make aligns with that decision, and you make each step towards that.
Okay, one more comment.
Well, I tend to graduation in December, I thought, I wish that they would make it mandatory for every freshman to attend college graduation and university graduation the first year of their time at school, because it's so exhilarating to get to that point, and that's what this connection is making for me. That, you know, you're working towards a goal, and sometimes you don't even, you lose track or sight of that goal when you're in the middle of that marathon race, but to go and to see the energy and feeling and excitement.
Yeah. And I think what you're saying is, have those high school students thought about what college graduation would feel like and look like? And if they haven't, let's put them in a situation where they can start thinking about it. Have any of you accomplished something in your life that you didn't have a vision for? You didn't think through it and kind of have an idea of what that future might look like? It doesn't happen that way. You don't just one day wake up, oh my gosh, I got this great job, how this happened? It doesn't. You may think you got lucky, but if you go back and track your thoughts, and there's connections. So the point here is, if when we're sitting with people in conversations and talking to them, we have to bring all of that out and help them define their future in terms of their wellness. That's why when we talk about the vision, so what does optimal living feel like for you? Some people know they want to feel healthier and they think it's a good idea, but they haven't really clearly thought through it. They haven't really made it tangible and energetic and all of that. So that's what this principle is saying, that if we don't have a clearly defined vision for whatever the future is that we want, then the steps to get there, do those happen? No, because there's not the energy behind it. Once you've got this vision and it's positive and it's hopeful and it just seems really great to you, then you've got all this energy to go do the work and to find the resources, to find the steps, to find the skills you need to make that all happen. But if you don't have it, it just doesn't work. Okay, last one. This is the one I already kind of mentioned. That poetic principle. Positive anticipation of the future stems from positive attention in the present. So this one talks about reinterpreting your life in the present and the past. So have any of you been able to go back and do that? It's not high school. We all had some crap with high school, right? There's no way none of us did. So a lot of people are still kind of bitter about high school and stuff like that. So are you one of those people that needs to go back and reinterpret high school and put it in its positive light? Or did you already do that? Does that make sense? Because there's a lot of like, you know, I think of public speaking, or you had a bad experience in high school with, you know, being in front of people. Mike, how many people have carried that on to every time they're in front of a person? Are you listening?
Yeah. What do you mean carried that on?
I'm just saying, like, if someone had a poor experience in high school of public speaking, how often do you see that affecting them in college?
I'll bet it stays with them until they do something about that specific thing every single time.
Yeah. And wouldn't it be easier if they went back and reinterpreted that experience and just said, I was 14 years old. I didn't know how to public speak. It's okay that if they went back and reinterpreted that, maybe the present would be a lot easier to get their mind around and to be a little bit hopeful and to maybe say, well, maybe I should practice. Maybe I should prepare this time. Does that make sense? Lisa?
I tell myself, like, first thing in the morning, you're not going to fall down today. Like, you're not clumsy. But it still happens, like, all the time. I trip off the steps, I fall on my face.
Yeah.
It's just,
Especially when you're drunk.
oh my God. That's when I can actually be still. I don't know what it is, but this is like I'm telling myself I'm not going to trip, and I trip.
Because what have you just said, though? Yeah. You haven't said, today I'm going to be graceful and elegant, and I am going to walk around like I'm walking on water. You have said, I don't want to trip. So you're only thinking about not tripping. So then you trip.
But I'm thinking about not tripping.
But what are you thinking about? Really?
the word
You're focused.
So if I think about tripping, I'm gonna trip, but if I feel that, I'm gonna trip.
So, and this, I'm so glad you brought this up.
I know this is
No, it's
small.
not small at all, because we
Small.
all do this. So, your thought
It's like
pattern,
your Band-Aid
Lisa,
pattern.
what emotion is your thought pattern grounded in?
It doesn't hurt.
No, but not tripping, there's an emotion. Is it a fearful emotion or is it a positive emotion?
So, both?
So you fear tripping, right?
Oh, well, not really, I don't fear it, it's,
But
but, yeah,
I look forward to it.
this is good. Embrace the trip. I don't know. I don't think I'm afraid of it, because when I fall, I look around and did you see that?
no, it sounds like
I
you're
know
really
never sees
positive
it.
about it.
Like, I can laugh at myself.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So then why do you want to not trip so bad?
Because it's annoying.
Okay.
I'm thinking of my time, I'm snatching phones.
It's costing me money.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know, I guess I'm afraid I have to buy another new phone.
Okay, so Lisa, in terms of tripping, not tripping, what do you really want?
To walk plane.
Okay, so you'd like to walk plain.
Yes.
And how come this is so important to you?
I don't know, I have to explain bumps and bruises all the time.
Okay.
And I don't know, what happened to your face?
So there's been some awkward moments, awkward conversation.
Yeah.
People are starting to wonder about
Right,
me.
like am I abused at home, you know, that kind of thing. No.
Okay,
Did
so
you really walk into a cupboard? Yes, yes I
it's
did.
not your husband.
No, he's not even here, you know?
So you would possibly like to talk about things other than the marks on your face?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what you want. And how do you get what you want? You need to walk.
Plain.
Yeah. Do you want to practice? Just kidding. So what could you do?
I try and dance. If I dance into places, I don't fall down.
Okay.
Right? Didn't I just come?
So it doesn't sound that it's a lack of coordination, Lisa.
It's not. That's the funny thing. You should see me work out. I'm fine.
So what do you think's really going on?
I didn't see the ice, you know. I make a loud noise when I fall. It's not like I'm graceful at all when I fall.
Okay, so one last question, Lisa.
All right,
Based on our whole conversation about positivity,
Mhm.
how could you approach your dilemma from a positive approach?
Good dance.
You could dance. What could you do with your thoughts?
Focus.
Every day you could tell yourself
Not
what?
think about it. Tripping.
So what's a more positive? So, can I make a suggestion here?
Yes.
You seem to have a great sense of humor. So what if instead of in the morning you wake up and say, I'm not going to trip, you say, I'm going to be graceful like a, put a little humor in it.
Fox.
Okay, graceful like a fox. Something like that.
Are they graceful?
I was thinking more graceful like an elephant.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
A little oxymoron, but it might work for you.
They walk slow though. They do like to pass, just so you know.
So anyway, the point is, whatever we focus on gets bigger. So you're focusing on the tripping, so you're tripping. So maybe focus on what you want, how you want to be, how you want to feel, how you want to look when you're walking, rather than what you don't want.
Okay.
Catherine?
That's so silly, sorry.
My daughter is, she trips up the stairs all the time. She's very klutzy, but I've never told her that she's klutzy. I've never said that. I always say to her, mindful, honey, be mindful. Be mindful.
Does it work?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think she's probably, got a positive thought about, what I'm saying, rather than me calling her a klutz and then her thinking she's a klutz, and then she's going to be a klutz.
Yeah, everybody I do know calls me clumsy.
You can,
You're the clumsy one.
come back and say, no, I'm graceful like a fox.
So you need to surround your people with positive perspectives. implications of your walking. We need to go back to the first principle. Okay, so write down something that you should rewrite in your life that would make a big change. What could you see from your past in a positive light? Okay, when you're finished, just take like a 3-minute break, 3 to 5 minute, we'll get started again.
So, I usually say that, like, in the house and my master's.
You know how I emailed you on Facebook?
We were wondering, like,
If there's
Can I leave the room
program
late?
that helps kids with
Just don't let it,
Yeah.
don't tinkle too loud.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
It's turned off.
Like we're not going to.
Here.
You know, like a way to help them learn strength training without weights. The firm. Is it for kids?
Do you get tired?
Yeah.
Really? No way?
Well, you're supposed to be tired by then. I just remember at that point,
Right.
there were moments where I just had to go lay down. There was no one more thing that I could do. It was that thing, but lay down, that's it, that's all I could do. I couldn't lay down one more thing, I had to. And I remember it was just like that, it was so intense where it would kill me. Because I'm not really thinking properly. Or whatever.
So this class is so well, actually, the first one, we're going to just talk about the so we're going to try and get some speedometers for your math donated, and then it's and then it's flexibility. Is the 4 weeks. And like a lot of stretches. This is for 2 like you're not playing time. You should start like probably because I know these questions.
Like, I'm really good at
Yeah. I didn't know if you guys were like, were supposed to be doing this. Oh, no.
Yeah, so I mean, I just remember a moment to push this through. Pregnancy, and then I got determined.
Might be. I'm not saying like don't look wings, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like a program that will strength training. Yeah, so start like,
How are you going to come out as far as school?
but we want to talk about like the just
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
So it's good
I'm a
time.
little frustrated myself.
And actually, everybody in my group, Dr. Spots, we're all in a group together. It's me and McCall, Christy, Ashley, Tucker. She's my and Sarah Lewis. So that's good. Oh, and
Figure out how to
she lives in Salmon.
Took a break from school.
Yeah, that's, I just had to ask you. I might have some more questions for you anyway. We're not starting until March.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Good night. I'm late. Talk about it.
Hello. I'd like one that does some kind of weights because if it's a bunch of kids in a gym.
It would probably be
You know what's the hardest? The yoga.
Just sit people tomorrow. Break your neck. We have to separate that with stress, but I guess that's like.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's the stress.
Oh, man, I like free sleepover and stuff. I'm fucking dude, like, congratulations, I'm living here.
Okay, with the rest of our time, we're gonna put these principles, and we're just gonna briefly talk about the 5D cycle. And I say briefly because I want you to practice with it today, because you'll learn much more by just practicing and implementing it. So, the AI approach is a great way to start working with someone who doesn't really know where to begin. You can use the positive principles throughout any type of conversation, but it works especially well with someone who doesn't have an idea of where they're going. They haven't really defined that future. So that first part of the cycle is that define. So when you guys practice with each other, you're going to sit down and you're going to ask, what's our focus? What do you want to focus on? Now what if someone says to you, I don't know?
Maybe you could ask them what's something that's bothered them lately instead of saying focus.
You could say, like, what's an area of wellness that you would like to talk about? You know, sometimes broad questions are, it's not that people don't know, we were a little too broad. So what area of wellness would you like to focus on? With a client, sometimes a good question is, what brought you here today? You know, what was your motivation for sitting, coming and meeting with me today? For you guys, your motivation is a little different, so that doesn't quite work in the classroom setting, but there's different ways to get at this than just asking
what do you want to talk about?
Okay, and then discover. So let's say this person wants to talk about exercise. So with the discover phase, what are we going to do? Why was this one so important? Why did the book say this was so important? Yeah. Yeah, it's where we get our confidence from. So we want people to tell us about their best experience with exercise, right? So basically, what's your best experience with exercise? Or you could even say, you know, what type of exercise do you enjoy? You know, you could narrow it a little bit more and then say, what's their best experience? Now, it may be really hard for the person. Well, I don't really enjoy exercising. I just think I should do it. Okay, so where do you go with that?
Why do you think I should do it?
So you don't really enjoy it, but it sounds like it's important to you. You want to tell me a little bit more about how come it's important? Because it's perfectly fine for people to not enjoy the exercise, but there's still strong motivation to be found in why they still think they need to do it. So there's still the discovery there.
Or maybe you could ask them, like, what's an exercise that you do enjoy?
You could even ask them, so you absolutely hate everything about exercise? And then they might go, well, I don't absolutely hate everything. Well, tell me what you don't hate.
Right.
You know, and that could be a way to get the positive. Tell me what you don't hate about exercise. Maybe like was just way too far on that positive side, but maybe there's a few things they don't. Well, I like the way I feel after I'm done exercising. Great, tell me more about that. How do you feel? What are you able to do with the rest of your day after your exercise? Those kind of questions.
I got a question.
Uh-huh.
And I don't want to get off track here, but or take you off track. But my experience when I have done this with students is their first response is they're going to focus maybe on exercise. But as they delve into and explore what's really going on, that's really not where they're heading or where they want to head to once they dig through some of the superficial things. So is that a time when that kind of emerges, or because everybody says I want to lose weight, obviously I got to increase my exercise, but maybe there's some real stress going on, or they're feeding themselves really negative thoughts.
Oh yeah,
And so that my experience has been it's not their initial idea.
So based on stages of change, if someone's not in action, where are they at? And that's all the thinking, right? So to get someone to preparation and even action, we do have to deal with their thoughts. So that's always something good to log in the back of your mind. Now, so you've heard this, you said they say exercise and they're bringing up all this. Now, as the coach, what do you do? Okay, it's really simple. So all you have to do is say, so can we pause here for a minute? I just want to make sure we're on the same page, or however you want to say that. At the beginning we were talking about exercise, and now I hear a lot about these things. Do you want to change your focus and talk more about these things? Because they seem really important. Or do you still want to go the exercise? Let them decide. But reflect back what you're seeing. I know we initially started this conversation with exercise, but I'm hearing and seeing all this, and I see a lot of energy behind it. Is that maybe where we'd like to change our focus? And then you can go there, and then they go, what does that give them? Yeah, rather than just going that direction without holding that mirror up to them, you just missed a great opportunity for them to go, yes, you're right. That is more important to me right now. So they can acknowledge it, accept responsibility, and have more of an honest thing right there. Rather than you just saying, okay, well they said exercise, but clearly we're talking about stress, so I'm just going to go with stress. It's really, really important for you to pause and to reflect back what you're seeing so that person can go, yeah, you're right. Or they started talking about stress, but they don't want to go there yet. So we're going to keep talking about exercise. And then maybe you can say, okay, let's talk about exercise, and maybe at a later date you want to talk about the stress. Okay? The client's still in control, you're reflecting back. So that's great, and that happens a lot, that's really good. Because it's much easier to come in and say, I want to start exercising than my whole life's out of control. You know, it's easier to start with one thing.
I've seen that happen over and over and over. I don't know if you have you seen that happen?
Yeah, well, don't we all do that?
Yeah.
I mean, don't we all do that? Like, you know? It's a warm-up. It's hard to start getting to the heart of the matter. It's hard for us to just jump in and say what's really bothering us. But once we start warming up, when we talk, then we are able to do that, and then we just need to reflect that back. And that'll actually feel really good to the person. Because they'll be like, wow, they really are listening. They really do, you know? And then they'll actually feel probably pretty okay about talking about it. I would really doubt they'd go back to what they were originally talking about. Okay, so this discover, we want to spend lots of time on here too. Building that self-confidence, helping them rewrite their own history or their own present, helping them see it in a positive light. How can negative experience after negative experience after negative experience be seen in a positive light? Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Oh, it's clear you know what not to do. You know what Sylvia like? You're actually right. I do know not what to do. I mean, that's beautiful. And people never think of that on their own. They're so bogged down about, I keep trying this and it's not working. What's wrong with me? That works for this person. So that's great. So there's always something to be found. There's always a positive paradigm to be put on even repeated negative experiences. And what most common do we find those with? What topic of wellness? What thing have people attempted more than anything? Weight loss. So they're just, that's always kind of a red flag for me when I hear weight loss. Okay, so then we're going to dream, this dream phase.
What do you see yourself doing? What is your dream? What is it that you want to accomplish?
Yeah, and this is kind of like, so if all this was going right, and you could, you know what, all these phases, they kind of intertwine, and I mean, we're going to learn about them like this, you know, in the 5, but I think especially the dream and the discover, they kind of go together, right? Because we're discovering our past, but we're dreaming about our future, so they can kind of go together. So this question, so if this was going really well in your life, if you were exercising, you know, as much as you wanted, what's that going to be like? You know, what does your life look like and feel like? And, you know, what are you able to do now that you haven't been able to do? What can you work on now? Like, what's your next thing you can get to? So that discover and dream, I think, can kind of go back and forth. The other thing is what things make you most excited about life? And how does exercising match with that? How does it fit with that? Well, if I was exercising, I'd be able to have more energy to do this, or I'd feel better about this. You know, I've always wanted to do this, but I feel like I just can't until this happens. And then design. So it's design. How do we get there? Have you thought about anything? So you know what doesn't work, you know, for that person who, so do you know what might work for you? Have you thought anything about that? Maybe they haven't. So would you like to talk about that? Could we brainstorm some things?
What do you usually hear when somebody's having a weight loss concern and they get to this step and it's like, what do you need to do? And they're looking for the answer to that question. Not necessarily weight loss, but just...
No, and this is an opportunity where clearly they're like, I need some help here, that's why I'm here. You know, like this is a time for you to maybe share your expertise. But you always start with, have you been thinking of anything? Or you could say, you know, to that person, well, it's clear you know what, you don't know what to do. Have you thought of anything? Or would you like to talk about that? You know, and then you can share some of your ideas or what you're going on and stuff. But we always want to know what people are thinking, because they do come up with some of their best solutions. Or, you know, I've heard about this, and I think I need to research that more. Or, you know, with weight management, I think it's a great opportunity. Would you like me to share with you what I learned about weight management and the negative effects of dieting and what that, you know, the long-term effects of that? So, which means you definitely have to be up on some of your stuff. Okay. The design, you know, and this is where, what will you do? What would you do within the next 2 weeks if you wanted to start working on this? That's kind of the design. And then the destiny is, how do we get there? So the design and the destiny kind of work together as well. What is your next step? What's your first step? What's your second step? Okay, so I have, this is a handout that's online under chapter 4. I'm going to pass out a few to different partnerships. I want you to switch up your partnerships. So you talk to different people, have different experiences, and you're all getting to know each other really well, and I want you to get to know other people well. I know that's hard. It may take some moving, actually, but I have great confidence in your ability. But before I do that, let's do, Lisa, do you want to do a quick follow-up?
Sure.
Okay. So this is, I'm going to follow up with Lisa and give an example of how you should all follow up with your practice plan, okay? It won't take very long. It's pretty short.
Just a question.
Yeah.
So, do you want us to tell them, we're gonna go through this 5D cycle, or do you just
Just do it.
verbally?
Yep, just do it. And you don't have to do this with your practice client, okay? We've just moved on to other things. I mean, if you want to ask some of these positive questions and stuff, but you can still just follow that outline, okay? Okay, okay. Focus on.
I just had to smile at it.
Okay, so last week when we met, you had a goal for the upcoming week.
I did.
And what went well with that goal?
Everything actually.
Oh, tell me about it.
I was a little late. You know, I said 6:30. I was like 7.
Okay.
Sure. I picked my daughter up and I was like, what is today? It's Tuesday. Oh. Today's the day I'm not going to do any schoolwork, you know. And, I asked her what she wanted to do, and she wanted to play dress up. But when I got the dress up stuff, she decided she would color instead. So we colored, and we printed off some coloring pages from the internet, and that gave me ideas for school. I know I was supposed to be thinking about school, but I was thinking about school for a minute, and I was like, oh, let me print something up for me to color for school.
Okay.
So it was kind of a way to like make school not so much a priority, but then ideas were coming to me because I was stuck at this. We're doing this program for school, and I was kind of stuck on this. I needed an idea, and I couldn't think of anything, and I thought of it while we were coloring. So I decided to work on it with her. So we colored for my school. I made a logo for something, and it was really cool. And I was like, what should color this color? What should the girl be wearing? She's like purple, you know, or whatever. So that was, I don't know. I killed 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah. Without even meaning to.
Without even trying, yeah.
So, it sounds to me like you went into this experience, you were going to work on school.
Right.
You were totally going to be in the moment, whatever she wanted to do. You did not like control it at all.
Right.
And then she picked coloring and you got unstuck.
Yeah.
And your juices started flowing.
I know.
So what does that tell you?
That maybe I shouldn't be so focused. That's backwards. Maybe I shouldn't be so focused on school that it blocks my brain from thinking. I need to just lighten up a little bit.
I mean, yeah, so lighten up a little bit, take you gotta focus on it,
Right.
not.
Yeah.
But it also, this experience, and correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like doing stuff that's rejuvenating and doing stuff that's really important to you and that's been bothering you actually allowed your mind to think again.
Right.
Because I'm wondering if while you're thinking about school, you're thinking about feeling guilty and not the things that you should be doing, and then you aren't able to tackle your things with school.
Right. Because sometimes when you get in that negative, it just affects everything.
Okay, so what's your takeaway from this?
Well, I definitely just need to loosen up, just relax. Because I've been so tense for so long about everything, that this little tiny half hour, 40 minutes or whatever it was, kind of made me go, oh my gosh, I was thinking about it from the wrong angle or whatever.
So what are your next steps?
We're coloring more.
You're coloring more.
We're coloring more. No, I think that I can spend quality time doing the things that we have to do anyways. Like we were driving home from karate that week and I was like, I was just talking to her instead of swearing at the drivers on the road. I was just having a conversation with her and it was so much less tense to just drive home from one
And that was quality time.
Yeah. And I don't feel like I was screwing her out of time with her mom because sometimes I ignore her in the car. She'll talk and I don't listen.
So you being less tense overall, you're actually able to be in the moment with her more and actually be productive with her as well.
Yeah.
So both.
It's both. I know.
Sounds pretty cool.
It is cool.
Yeah.
And I've noticed it too since then. So in 1 week I've noticed all I have to do is listen, or call this quality time and just make it quality time.
So reframing it.
Okay, work. Thanks. You're welcome.
Thank you. Yay, very good. That was a really good example of just seeing things in a positive light, right? Yeah, cool. Okay, so find a new partner or find a new threesome, okay? Everyone in the threesome has to be different. This is worksheet.
We need a number 3.
Now do us. Well, if you can do 3, do 3, but.
Okay, yeah.
There's only 2.
I had a girl come
The coaching stuff.
You don't have to wait. A little bit more.
Oh yeah. Were you in her class too?
Okay, someone be a coach, someone be a client, someone be an observer. That's just a little bit more explanation on that, the 5 things. You don't have to look at it right now.
You guys want to list?
Okay, so who's going to be your coach, who's going to be the client, who's going to be the observer?
I'll try.
Yeah, I'm not even good.
Do you have like a force them?
I know. You do too.
Oh, wow. So like if you do one of you guys want to?
Yeah.
I don't know that.
Let's go.
Okay, would you like to go?
I have no idea who you are, Cece. No idea.
Says, a topic
like to explore. Probably possibly.
Well, something that I
Let's just like
start with
Go from there.
okay. So negative thoughts are not taking the room.
Well, let's think, what are your best experiences?
I usually have my energy throughout the day. I feel like I'm productive. If I do in the morning, I feel sometimes I'm like tired.
I have an issue that we can address.
Three coaching.
Have you reached a point ever where you were exercising every day, or?
That's
Okay, and how was that?
It was good.
Long season.
Strenuous or anything?
No, just like, I just had to say, because it was just kind of, let's say, I knew what I was actually doing. Everyone else. So I was more determined with the outcome than I was.
In a house full.
So you had a goal? Do you have a goal now, or is it just to reach the goal?
Well, then I know so much about sport. So you're thinking about the So,
They were like, how am I going to be able to play this? That was so much fun to watch, and then I had like such a good time. It's not even like you're not going to cheer for the game. You know what I mean? It just sucks. This game sucks.
What he does.
But,
Am
yeah.
I famous?
Think about all the other games that were before this, they were like,
Doing every day.
yeah, like it wasn't.
well, every day,
I don't know, like how many other guys have not. There's nothing. I drink more fun.
So you're just gonna sit home?
yeah, and then it's like a cycle. I feel like I don't actually. If I done shoes from those bands, and then right to the women. Well, and my son
Video and successful.
yeah,
Done that before.
make sure that it's hard to.
Let's flip that thing.
I'll do this one for another day.
So could you make it to a couple of them? That be okay? Like 2 degrees. Saying on those days that you're doing something else, you have to look forward to the next day.
So something just what happens.
That's kind of design.
Okay, so do you know what you're doing with your intern? You could also do that. Is that your new? But
Yeah.
and that's what
After when the fall starts, yeah.
Oh,
So I'm gonna get ahead of that. Should we switch? Get the pressure up. Which I'm glad that.
Like your face, like.
I had a hard time with.
Pretty hard.
What?
I tried.
All the chemicals.
Does not. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, it's, you know, and it's just,
I like to.
It's not that bad.
you know, this is what you're gonna do. And,
How this is.
yeah, it's like, you know, this is what we're doing, and we don't like it.
I know.
Which I'm sure is still here. I just especially as just
Yeah.
I just remember saying to athlete in the weight room, saying, okay,
The second
response today. Got something like that, you know, you have an option. And maybe that's bad, I don't know, but it's hard. All right. Me and folks would probably be less negative about the future.
What, is there like more focus or?
Well, just like we probably everybody in this situation, the word is what are the plans after they graduate?
So you want,
Not so much have a plan, yeah, sure, really. To
your first
do another minor. You know, the steps, like, you know, get a job. Yeah, you know, it's like as soon as it's going to be done, it's going to
Is there ever been in the past where you've been like
not really, like I said, I've always been like really positive when it comes to this. Also, I just get negative stuff. I don't want to do it, but I don't have a plan, I like freak out. Oh, big time. Yeah, I didn't know what to do. Like I was like lost. Sorry, coaching. Yeah, I gotta find an alternative for that. She's doing her own stuff I love doing, but I just think I'm just so negative about it. And I feel like it's not only affecting me, like she's like, you know, the sweetest woman ever. So then I get frustrated. So then it's really strange. And I was like, I never
pause for a second. Is anyone stuck? Do you have any questions?
I've got issues.
You got issues? Issues with the process, or you just have issues?
I just got issues.
Okay. Anyone like, how do I ask this? Or someone's like, this person asks this really well. Okay.
The questions seem to like flow right into the next
Okay.
thing.
Yeah.
Going through the stages, I was like, oh, we're already like in the design stage.
Okay. Okay. So it's feeling fairly natural? Okay. Well, then continue on.
Okay.
We got them past that.
I'm just a mess, but I stuffed her. Yeah.
So if you do, what is that going to be? What is that? Future. What year? After you graduate, what's your second? What do you think?
I mean, ideal would be give us a job somewhere around, but very ideal. And what strengths is this? It's being a strength coach. You have to go and be a graduate assistant in the program and then be there for years and lose your master's degree. Then move on, you get assistant job. I'm really like kicking myself screwed. Like, why did I even choose this major? You know, it comes to that point where
Then I'll go.
I think they're the same way. Yeah.
take one from before.
I feel like I've been
Because what I would do.
I don't, but it keeps me, I can't stand. Yeah, exactly, and it's not gonna happen. And I'm really frustrated, just the degree 3 times.
They get hired on this fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Construction.
Introduction to
I do.
Hopefully, some teacher somewhere. I know 3 principals.
No, it's really kind of the process, but I mean, it's all about second semester. And me, the big sky conference, there's not really many connections. But Joe Fast came up with that. He's here 20 years. But, yeah, man, I'm just trying to finish this with you. I'm very patient. I'm super patient.
I'm not going to do anything until I
have more time.
I've always been at that age before this job.
You've made the same exact ground. Looks like you're pretty sure.
Exactly.
I feel like they were saying
It incorporates much of the system. Finding the answer.
So I guess it's going to work out.
How'd you find out?
My students
almost consider me going to underwater.
she actually
Oh, okay, I was like,
I was thinking of some interaction because my husband was like, let's go to Canada.
you're like, what?
So I was like, the word literally 2 words night. Sunday go married. I'm just like,
I would think he would not agree. That he would curious
I'll sit down like my laptop. I'll go to bed and take off. Like, that's my job.
I was like,
Yeah, I go to bed.
you're making me so mad.
And that's probably the best thing to do. So,
I just applied for a job and like got because now it was like
got out of walking
So we had a
yeah.
I was going to try something else.
You do, I mean, I'm across the street. CSCS. And probably get this semester.
It's depressing.
please no.
It's going to happen to and CSCS.
Oh yeah, that was
I'll get roped into that. Which is fine. I just typically do some homework. She was going to the therapy versus the other student.
She said, the woman said,
I don't want to do that at all.
she wasn't
Strength coaches
and
recreational programs.
spontaneously
Stuff like that.
Right?
I mean, I had my eyes set on being a strength coach, and I was like,
because
what am I going to do? Because
the way
it's
it's
going to be
going
hard. I don't know, I feel like
I said she wouldn't be able to get here.
I feel like I'm an old man.
her grandma, she said, her grandma,
I get sucked.
she was very, very grateful.
You start school. You start school.
I haven't found out.
I'm from South Canada.
She's having
Yes, we just did it last.
So you found a person for her that does this emotion code.
They're both in the class. One's in stress management, the other's in psychology. But she came,
My body's beat up over there.
to tell me about it. And she actually played some things with me, and they were really weird. She was
The person you have issues, my friend.
it's kind of like therapy, only they're actually.
You have issues.
Instead of tapping it, so just different kind of energy.
Yeah.
She was going through this process.
Exactly.
Going again, not in these things. I never would have thought of it. So she, and then she did this. It's the weirdest thing. I felt this kind of a shifting.
I was like, you work there?
And I didn't say anything about that I had done that. She goes,
Because he's running out of space.
a lot of something that just came out of you. And it was, but I didn't say it at the time. After
Interesting.
she said,
That's true.
that's how it works. It's energy.
So have you felt it?
Well, I have.
Yeah.
If you ever feel, and ever since then, she's actually played with me a couple times.
Yeah.
So if you haven't already, why don't you switch, okay? You can finish or switch if you're done.
So I'm very interested in how this is.
Yeah, exactly.
It sounds kind of similar to that. I went and got a massage. My mom gets a massage stuff. She can't go to that one because that's what she wanted. And she does, what's the feet? Yeah, so she was doing that. She does reflexology. She was for a minute. It was this woman who was and I just took over the phone, but it sounds kind of similar. Like asking questions.
I'd like to do just weight training. Like deal with unit diet. Just weights. That's what I'd like to do.
That there to support it.
How do you get evidence with that?
It's just results.
But it's just someone saying, well, I guess it's
Yeah, I've got that for
If she, for example, if she can fall asleep for a couple of weeks and have time to
but
she's also scared to death. She actually did some YouTube along with this. She can fall asleep without any of that going on. Then that's, you can't talk yourself out of that.
Or do I ask?
She said, I've tried a couple times to talk myself out of it. Rationally, right, and it's not. So, she does, and I have
but I also like
I'm sure I
so it's just kind of like, it's good,
I mean,
what are your issues?
But
yeah,
so it's true, because
very spiritual. Entirely devoted.
So you still just like 3 days. But I'm just
And I have, even though we're not talking.
So,
I mean, like, that doesn't sound like anything, that's very,
you know?
like, we all have our spiritual gifts.
I don't know.
So, how could we not,
That's good though, right?
because you know who I am.
You have made it better for sure.
To have a different interpretation, but
She's healed.
I don't know, I'm not trying to say it. We just can't all be it just, because I don't know. It just
Look
makes
at you
sense
laugh.
with individuality.
So it's
All
kind of.
given different ways to reach out to others, to serve others, to connect with others.
I guess we could always,
Pull you back in there.
Because there's so many different types of personalities.
Just to be late for being outside.
And it's true.
What about the driving your
And yet, we can sit down and have a conversation and get each
Actually, so he struggles multitasking.
Somebody else. That's exactly the way of saying things. Saying genuine, heartfelt.
And said, you parked the car, this guy. We don't all do this. We all are going home to But like, he's on the phone with someone in St. George and they offer to like go real estate. I'm sure there's other ones, but I think that's unique to me. This guy was looking and moved. The sun came up.
When was the last time you like let him take
Something like that, you know, that we should bring up the control. Like, why do I need to do that? Or get a promise that if you ever had a prompting, and he did, and I just thought, this is how you do these type of things. No, but he told himself, I will act on that, even if I don't do that, and so if I don't
It's not your way. So if it's
I know, or all those friends. And he has the personality for it too. So I think it's doable. You know, I don't think everyone, you know, I really think there's challenges that are doable.
so fast and all slow.
I don't expect everyone to be like him, but
Definitely further doors.
I don't know, just the things that the gospel compels people to
What like
do. It's really stuff.
Stuff comes up. Like right now, I'm the job.
And just the sincerity and the genuineness, the selflessness for someone else's life.
Really? I can get into my wife's car, so it's like we're taking my truck.
like I know, I love it.
It's not even an option. You go to where I'm driving, you like drive, is there cars small?
Yeah, so yeah, we've decided that.
Well, we should guys decide. That's kind of neat, but look at the bigger
Yeah, sometimes you have to ask yourself, see, like, deliberate about it. You don't just go through the motions.
Well, you guys talked about it, right? You guys talked about it. Now, were there like any figures?
For years.
Was he just like all about?
And you know, thinking about like help something out of it. And it's now the principal down in Idaho. Brand new. I'm like, really do high school and I thought it was something. I didn't know it's good, like, challenge or whatever, but that's not weird.
So anytime
Diluted in a really good way. I mean, it's funny because if that's the delusion and that's the outcome of the delusion, then there has to be balance and people go overboard, whatever. But if that's what comes out of the delusion, then not a bad delusion.
I should probably go before I start yelling.
So take like a few seconds for yourself to regroup.
You look at Seligman.
Yeah. What was it about?
I thought it was interesting that he breaks down happiness into 3 A's. Pleasure, engagement, and pleasure is just getting the most pleasure out of life.
But it would be nice to
But yeah, the ones that give you the most life satisfaction are usually the pleasure.
So when I say
Meaningful and meaningful is even higher. Meaningful is being part of something.
Like that.
He was a good speaker too. That motivates you. No, that was chill. I was the one that I watched. He was pretty easy to listen to.
Yeah.
And that's that whole authentic happiness. That's what it's like. It wasn't TED Talk, but on YouTube they had a 23-minute clip from the TED Talk. Which was kind of nice. So it was even shorter than an hour and a half. That's true. It was fairly basic, but
when you're nervous about like she won't take it.
She was like,
Yeah, exactly. What's the part with this drug?
Honey,
you're like, never mind.
I'm kind of curious now. You just thought you was yelling about something. And he's just like, whatever. Exactly.
So he had TED Talk.
being selfish now. Now we're just doing it.
Good for you. Pump the brakes. You know.
And the funny thing is that I'm not like That's so, like,
Just around the corner.
best thing ever.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's wrap things up here, just a few more minutes. Tell me, I need 4 people to tell me what was the most important thing they learned today.
One thing I learned is that it really helps to talk things out, because like when I was talking to her about my problem, like it's something that I've been thinking about this past week, but I haven't really been thinking about it, I guess. So when we talked, it really helped to like kind of bounce ideas off of each other and come up with like a plan.
Yeah, isn't that amazing how, because we can get kind of lost in our own thoughts. And we always have other thoughts getting in with the thoughts about other things. Okay, good thought. Okay, 3 more. Someone who hasn't spoken today.
I think it's how important it is to focus on the positive. Even if we're trying to like fix something negative, like there's still something positive that we can focus on that will inadvertently fix it.
In fact, it kind of the saying is we'll outgrow the problem. As we focus on the positive and all the things we talked today, we'll just outgrow that weakness or problem. It's kind of more fun to outgrow something than to attack it. Okay, 2 more. What was the most important thing you learned today?
That I wasn't like the only one with the same problem or issue that's like been weighing in my life.
Oh, you're normal?
Yeah.
Dang it.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, just good.
Doesn't that feel good?
Yeah, kind of.
Kind of, or?
And we're all in this together, kind of trying to figure things out.
Okay, good. Okay, 1 more. Anyone? Bueller?
I like that defining the problem was a little bit more in depth than I thought it would be. Like, hey, what's your problem? It's not just, you know, I fall a lot. It's more than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not what we talked about here again, but it's more than just define the problem.
Yeah.
It's you have to like really dig deep.
Yeah, and that's what we call getting to the heart of the matter. And that does take.
I think that took up a majority of the conversation that we were having.
And sometimes that can be just like a pearl for someone. Oh, actually, that's what I need to. That's what I need to find a solution for. I've been going at this the wrong way. That makes a lot more sense to me. No wonder I'm frustrated or not working. Okay, very good. Okay, so just one more thing. In the next couple of weeks, so there's a couple of strengths-based assessments. The strengthsfinder.com, there's a book associated with it. It's $10 to $20. You can just read about this later on. But this Authentic Happiness website, this is Martin Seligman's website. And you can take this, the VIA right here, VIA Character Strengths Assessment for free. It's a little bit long. It's not timed, which can be a problem for some of you. But I want you to take this assessment so you can have a little bit more information about what your strengths are. What your strengths are going to be as a coach, in your career, and then I want you to have experience with this if you're ever working with someone and they have a hard time articulating what their strengths are, you can recommend that they go take this assessment and get some knowledge about who they are.
It's about, you have to give yourself at least a half hour.
Yeah.
Because it does take that long. And I was doing it quickly the last time I did it, and it was a half hour.
And there's all sorts of other fun assessments on this AuthenticHappiness.org. So if you're someone who likes those things, there's a wealth of information on there. There's even one on here for kids and their strengths, I think. So the top one is just information about StrengthsFinder. That's a book. It has an assessment, but this is the free one, Authentic Happiness. So take that in the next couple of weeks. We'll talk about it when we talk about professional development. And
isn't that part of our next assignment, or it's not?
I don't think so.
Yeah, there's some kind of assessment that's on this syllabus.
Oh, that's well-being assessment.
Oh.
So that's a little bit.
That's different.
We'll have you take that. Okay?
That's in the module?
Yes, this is under today's module, Chapter 4 module. It's called information on strengths-based assessments. Okay, thanks so much, you guys. Have a great evening. We'll see you next Monday.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, guys.
See ya.
Do we have anything due in possible?
That's what I don't think so.
Would it be easier to get that stuff done? So it's 27?
Well, I think so too.